Re-entry, normally a term used for space travel, but now, as we know, part of the process of recovering from a pandemic. What is your plan to re-enter, recover, and rebuild? My name is Margie Ireland, and this is video tip number 16 to help you lead through COVID-19. I work one-on-one with leaders to help them and their teams to survive and even shine in the most stressful and challenging of circumstances. Wow, what a week. Not sure where you're watching this from, but I've been witnessing and hearing some very positive steps, even through this pandemic. A client of mine shared that their team, who supports vulnerable communities, have risen to the challenge and are not complaining about having to adapt to new ways of communicating and not complaining about longer hours. Another organisation has introduced PJ Fridays, where all staff are encouraged to wear their PJs on video conference calls, even with clients. Being taken into people's homes through video conferencing, I believe, is actually bringing us together in more ways than we may have expected. I've also noticed lots of comparisons of the difficulties we have been facing compared to World War I and II. In Australia, where I'm from, this was illuminated even more on the 25th of April when we have Anzac Day, which is when we remember the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps for their bravery in World War I during the Battle of Gallipoli in 1915. I was so proud to be an Australian on this day. We couldn't gather in large groups as we normally do to remember, respect, and thank those who fought to keep our country safe. So instead, we got up before dawn and stood in our driveways at 5:55 a.m. with a candle or poppies for a moment of silence, which in my street ended up being able to hear The Last Post, a song synonymous with Anzac Day, being played in the distance. I was so moved. We found a way to adapt, to be there and show up for what was important to us. We also may have found a new way to celebrate Anzac Day together as a nation, which wouldn't have happened if not for the pandemic. And I see this as a silver lining. Something leaders may also need to accept is that even though there may be a desire to return to how things were, this may not be possible. We are most likely going to have to adapt. And even if your business hasn't been as impacted as much as others, your people may have had family or friends impacted, and this may have changed how they view their approach to their work. For example, you may have growing pressure to let more people work from home, or you might have the opposite, with people desperate to get back to the office, needing that social interaction, where the first few days there was lots of chatter and not much work getting done. Travel interstate or overseas is definitely going to be a factor in how we communicate and do business. What do you and your team need to change or adapt to? And what could be the opportunities that could improve how you work together as a team or a business? And is there the potential of a silver lining to be found? Now is your time as a leader to encourage your team to seek out the silver lining or the opportunities to be better. I mean, why choose the alternative to only see the negative? How does that help you or them? So try this. Ask your team to come up with 3 ideas or suggestions on how your team or business can thrive through to the other side of this pandemic. Use what I call the 3 R's as a guide. How can you or your team or business improve in re-entry, recovery, or rebuilding? Asking your team for ideas and applying the strategy does 2 things. And as I've shared in a few of my video tips, this approach switches the reactive part of the brain to their problem-solving brain. And secondly, it makes them feel involved, giving them a sense of more transparency and visibility, which will also help reduce feelings of uncertainty. Try it. Navigating the coming weeks and months ahead as we re-enter, recover and rebuild in different ways in our workplaces, there will be new challenges for you as leaders. Now is the time to start preparing for this transition with tailored leadership coaching. Learn more in the comments below.